Alright, I have to figure out how to do this. I'm clipping it to my phone and positioning it over this book. I'm going to do a drawing in this book here, Popgun War. I don't know how to reply to any. I'm just doing it with my phone, so I don't really know how else to set this up. I'm using this like arm thing, and I'm going to do a drawing in this book for someone on this page. And I might say some things during it, but this is like an experiment. It's like my second time doing a live stream, but first time freehand drawing in a book live. I have to figure out how to save it when I'm done, because I'd like to have it be available like on YouTube or something like that. So yeah, I usually just draw Sinclair in this book, and then Gift, and then in the second volume I'll draw Emily a lot of times, unless someone has like a specific request. Like I get a few Percy's. Sorry, I'm just getting this wire out of the way here. And I think that's about it. Usually, yeah, I'll just draw him like flying here, and then maybe like a couple little buildings down there, and hopefully try to get it done in like 20 minutes or so. Feel free to hang out the whole time or not. All right. Let's see, let's make sure that's, yeah. All right, it's been a while since I've done this. I mean, I used to kind of do this at shows, and usually take too long doing them, sometimes not enough time. It's not quite as nerve-wracking doing this, I guess, on a camera, because I can sort of detach that there's actually anyone watching this instead of actually having someone kind of standing watching me do it. But even then too, it's just like this part of my brain that I have to kind of make myself turn off. Yeah, just remind myself to look at the drawing as a whole and not get caught up in any little details or anything. It's like, okay, I got someone standing here waiting for me to finish, so I should go faster than I would, working on like a comic book page or something. It's like your mind wanders, or yeah, I mean, it's not such a big deal if I'm like inking or coloring usually. Maybe it should be though. Maybe if I didn't have anything to distract me, I could just focus on the task at hand. But that gets really boring. It's like audiobooks and podcasts and stuff with like pretty good company when I'm inking or coloring or scanning or doing anything like that. But just kind of, and I think the thing with these type of drawings, that I've drawn like a variation of it so many times that it's not like I have to do as much thinking if I were like, trying to compose a panel. Actually, that's still the angle there. I got a buddy that told me, this is a while back, I guess, that he does a lot of like tricks, I guess, that he uses when he does drawings at conventions and stuff, when he has to do something quick. It's like, oh, I know how to do this thing, and it like kind of looks impressive. I'm not saying this for me, this is what he said, but it like looks impressive to a lot of people. It's like little things you can do to like, oh, I know how to do this little thing, and it's pretty easy, and as I've done it so many times, so people will be like, oh, cool, And I don't know, he asked me if I have anything like that. And I was just like, I don't think so. I can't really think of any, it's like, I feel like at least then, I felt like I was kind of like in panic mode so much that I didn't really, I couldn't really think about it like that. Like I was just kind of having to like, okay, but I kind of get what he meant now. I think like, not like I think it's like, oh, I'm impressing people, but it's like, oh, I've drawn this thing a million times. It's like part of this like, it's like almost like a crutch or visual vocabulary or however you want to look at it. It's like it, and then after a while, I feel like that kind of stuff gets so stylized that it doesn't even resemble any. It's like, well, how would like I'm kind of relearning some things. Like if I was doing a commission or something with Sinclair, I'd probably have to look at a bunch of like different artists, the way they draw angel wings or, an actual wing from like some kind of bird. And kind of look at the way it works and then try to figure out like a shorthand for that. And that's probably why that stuff takes me, way too long. So I'm trying to, look at it in a way that actually makes sense instead of just this, shorthand that I've had, kind of made for myself over the years. It's like, oh yeah, I always draw the seam of pants, because I felt like it kind of gives things a little form, and then putting little wrinkles in and stuff like that. It's just like, oh, it was kind of fun when I figured out like a way to do that was, doesn't necessarily look like real pants, but it's like, I know pants wrinkle in the knees area and then usually in like the midsection here, a little, it's like, oh, it doesn't, I'm like using a pen too. So if he's wearing like a light colored shirt, it might not, it's just like a line shorthand. Anyway, you get what I'm saying, hopefully. If you even have the volume turned on to this, I don't know. And same thing about buildings and stuff, like drawing these buildings. I feel like it kind of got to the point. I used to use photo reference for them, like when I lived in New York, it was like 20 years ago or whenever. I went around like on the Manhattan Bridge and took a bunch of photos kind of above, like, when I got into Manhattan, I'd stop every few feet to where there was like a nice cityscape where I could kind of see rooftops on some buildings that were closer. And I don't know, that was, it was a fun thing to do, and I used those photographs for years, and I just recently, I lost track of what happened to them all. I don't know if I got rid of them in one of my purges, but yeah, I mined those things like crazy for like both volumes of Popgun War. Well, more of the first volume of Popgun War and a bunch of other little things that I've done that were like, set in New York or wherever, or like a, big urban environment. But yeah, and I felt like that was sort of some of the strength of those Popgun War comics, were the way like the buildings looked. And it was just from me going around, when I lived there too, when I was in art school specifically, I would do a lot of on-location drawing. There's a class that I took. His teacher, John Ruggieri, he probably still teaches at SVA, but he had a class called Drawing on Location, and we would go, and I think I pretty much took it every semester, or at least I hung out in the class almost every semester, and we'd go around to different places around the city, or like in a Starbucks and stuff. We got kicked out of the Virgin Megastore downtown, or yeah, I think it was the Virgin Megastore. They were like said we were doing architectural drawings, so they it told us to leave, which is such like a weird. I guess it wasn't after 9. It was pre 9/11. I don't know why. I'm pretty sure it was. It was like it must have been like 99 or 2000 or something like that. Yeah, but anyway, we do Starbucks sometimes, but a lot of it, if it was like on a nice day, we'd go to like, what was that? Not Thompson Square Park. What was the Union Square? We'd go to like Union Square and like draw in a lot of spots around there, and that kind of got me looking at buildings and backgrounds in a different way, where I would kind of follow lines rather than just trying to like rule everything out with like perspective and everything. And I think after a while I just was like, oh, I can kind of figure out how to do like a generic cityscape thing, in a maybe like a semi-quick pen drawing. So it's like, okay, I know a fire escape kind of looks like this. Like there's usually a ladder up to the roof there, and there's a spot for the stairs. And then I just kind of try to keep everything. I forget a lot, but I just try to like look at that in relation to other things, and like, okay, this building is probably like more in the foreground than or if I can make if I was doing a window, it's like, oh, I'll make these windows, this size here, and then I have to remember, okay, I gotta make, draw a couple on here that are, maybe like a little bigger, but is it like in perspective with this building, like in the same line, or is it further forward? It's like, oh, I drew the water tower that high. Is that, it's like, I don't know. I'm just kind of guessing, what looks kind of right. It's kind of moving around the page a little bit, but yeah, but I like worked from photos as well as working from life. But there was some times where I actually took the comic book page that I was working on and went to a spot where I was like, oh yeah, there's a rooftops there that I think look kind of nice that I could, look at from the street level or something. I think there was a scene in one of the Popgun War chapters in the first book where I think the Mr. Grimshaw character is looking up at Sinclair's apartment where he lives, and I did a little diagram that ended up like photoshopping onto the back cover of what his apartment would look like inside, probably, or just what I thought of his apartment looking like, because he's in there a few times. And yeah, so like I actually went to that spot, I think it was like on 14th Street maybe, and look, there was a building, like a rooftop, and I was like, oh, I like the way that, the facade of that looks. There might have been like, some like graffiti or something on the side here, just like, I'm not saying this is that, but I mean, that's something I would do too if I was, I think I actually, one of my finished pages, I was showing it to a friend, and he was like, oh, I like that graffiti there. And I was like, oh, really? That was just, I kind of just sort of generalized, copied that from the photograph. Like I was trying to make sure it wasn't like someone's actual tag or something, but there might have been a couple times where I put that in. I don't know anything about graffiti other than, a couple friends of mine seem to be into it. But I think moving to New York, I got an appreciation for it for the first time. It was like 24 or something like that, I think, when I moved there. It's 1996, so. I had a grandpa that and I think he was sort of like a step grandpa, but I met him like one time, and he was an architect. I guess he was like one of the guys that helped design the Golden Gate Bridge or something like that. I'm not sure, but he was a cool guy, and he showed us just like an architectural drawing he did of the side of a house. I remember one of the things he did, he's like, yeah, don't try to draw every brick, just like, you can just do like a couple there, or like, a couple there. And it was so impressive to me as like a little kid. I don't even know how old I was, like 10 or 12 or something. Like I was playing with Legos, and I felt like I'm probably a little too old to be playing with Legos. Somewhere around that age, whatever that is. Which is, I know it's like a little kid thing to think. Like, who cares? Like, play with Legos at any age. But you know, I never said I was smart. All right, I'm probably gonna wrap this up soon. I don't know. I was gonna look at the clock, but I don't think I even noticed how long I've been doing this. But it can't be all that long. Awesome. Yeah, and I have some kind of fake perspective going on here. I don't know. It's like all these lines are going off here. It'll like converge somewhere off the page that way, a long way. Because I guess our eye line's here, so maybe eye line's a little here. Because you can't really see on top of the building, so. Yeah, so at some point it converge out there, so I gotta keep in mind I'll draw a couple of buildings in the background that are, further away. I just kind of try to keep my line a little thinner. Could get out use that little brush, but I'm just gonna stick to this, using this one first time. Maybe I'll put one more guy back there. Yeah, so I guess if these lines are all going here, then these ones would be going off into the perspective that way. It's getting kind of like a little fisheye curvy thing here. Did you guys pick that up? That's my stomach grumbling. Excuse me, I should say. Alright, I gotta finish these stairs here. So, okay, if the stairs are there, I think I made that too small for these windows. But maybe it can be like a higher up window or something. I don't know. Yeah, so, okay, let's try to match this up here. Okay, so if that's, so going to be something like, not that big. All right, so there, this is the inside. Okay, so that's that distance from there. There to there. Okay, so we'll do window there, window there. All right, I'm gonna wrap this guy up here. I think I just said that, but that was maybe 10 minutes ago. Probably been going for a little while. Oh, this paper does not like, this is like the super cheap paper, or not super cheap, but the more economical option at Image. Yeah, it's not the funnest to draw on. I like the paper I got in volume 2, where it's like a little more porous, rougher. This feels really, I guess this is the matte, but it, I don't know, it just, it's not as fun to draw on, that's all. All right. I'm like trying to figure out my signature, sort of. So we also are using a capital D instead of a little d, but okay. that's it. And I'm gonna try to figure out how to record this or save it, because last time I did it, like, all right. Thanks for watching, guys. Yep. Bye.